Mi gente, you already know who it is. It's Danny Limelight. And I need all of you to subscribe to According to Woods podcast on Facebook, YouTube, and all other platforms.
What's good, party people? This is According to Woods, and I have the honor and privilege of talking to a tenured veteran of the California amateur scene, and she is a Combate Americas veteran. She's the one and only Maritza Sanchez. Maritza, what's going on?
Hi, how's it going?
It's going good. Glad to have you here. And we're going to get into kind of like the career stuff and everything. But I mean, it's funny because there's easier ways to make a living than becoming a cage fighter, right?
You're right. Yeah, you're right. I know. I guess I chose the rough kind of road, as you would say.
Sometimes, a road less traveled is virtuous, right? Because I mean, if you what is it? I think the Fleetwood Mac song, and we're not talking about Dreams and Dogface. That has been kind of played out, but you could go your own way, right? And that is kind of the way that I kind of choose to do things. That you don't have to be a particular. You don't have to go the way that I guess conventional wisdom would lead you, because it's a lot more fun not doing that.
Yeah, I don't know what to tell you. I feel like, before I had no idea what MMA was, and then my brother-in-law came into the picture, and so he's been doing martial arts ever since he was a young kid, and he started teaching classes in his garage, and I kind of just jumped in for fun, and then I liked it. And then later on he started encouraging me to get into my first amateur fight. I was like, okay, why not? Let's try this out, So I did that, and then it just felt different to me, like the adrenaline. There's just a whole bunch of things that go into play with that, but yeah, I really liked it, and I just kind of kept going with it, and now I'm doing it as my career.
Yeah. Now, I mean, were you particularly athletic, prior to your kind of brother-in-law's introducing you to like that whole combat sports lifestyle? Because I mean, there's no like set ways to kind of become a mixed martial artist. There's people that have been much like your brother-in-law, been doing it since they were in diapers. But then there's like college athletes or high school athletes that they blow out their knee and what have you, and they can't do the sport that they're supposed to, and then they kind of find MMA. So I mean, were you kind of training in any other kind of sport prior to your brother-in-law's introduction?
I guess you could say I was pretty athletic ever since I was like a little kid. I just liked running during PE. Like PE was like my favorite thing. And then high school, I did soccer throughout my 4 years. So yeah, that's the only other sport that I ever did. So.
And Blake Germano says yo yo yo. So I added another yo. So shout out to you, Blake. But in terms of your like, because obviously soccer in terms of conditioning, right? Those are outside of like being an amateur wrestler. Those are looked at avenues of sport that basically produces the best conditioned athletes, right? So, but it didn't seem like it kind of suit your fancy, even though you did it. It was just like once it was done, right?
Are you talking about the conditioning, like?
Well, the soccer, because you kind of like look at it as almost like a passing thing. Like that's a thing that I did, but the folks that have you play soccer, it's one of those it's an intensity.
Conditioning sport, high intensity, yeah. And then I was in a position where I was outside mid, so the outside mid position is like a lot of sprinting back and forth. So it definitely is high intensity, and you have to have good cardio and a high gas tank.
No, 100%. Now, Stu Kosh over on Facebook joining in, and he himself, a amateur mixed martial artist himself, as well as comedian. He says, I was just crazy. I would just start throwing stuff. And he thinks that you being involved with soccer, such a good sport, run and kick like Jose Aldo.
Yeah, it was kind of funny. Once I started like getting into martial arts, I was still playing soccer, and I started noticing, like, I ended up wanting to throw some roundhouse kicks when the ball was coming up high, and like girls would kind of like just back out, but I was like, I can't be doing that here.
Yeah, that would get you. And yeah, Stu says you also have to push people there at
Yeah,
times.
yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
what position did you play?
I played outside mid for most of the time. That was kind of like my main position.
Yeah. And Stu says I met a girl. She would grab hair in soccer. So he makes an asterisk. So you got to be specific. There you go.
Oh,
So
yeah, you got to watch out for those.
yes, 100%. So I mean, how long between your kind of like soccer career to, your brother-in-law's introduction, to you of mixed martial arts, like how long in between, and were you training in between that time?
Yeah, I was still training martial arts and I was doing soccer. Um, I mean, when I first started, I was more focused on soccer, but then I kind of liked MMA more, so I was kind of trying to balance out. But then I knew I had to be at my soccer practices, if not, get kicked off the team. I didn't want that. So, I was just balancing out both. I was doing both at the same time, and I started martial arts like in between my high school, like 2 years after, I'd say, because I was like 15, 16. Yeah.
Wow, that's tremendous. Now, in terms of like, did you know? I mean, obviously you had competed in soccer, but competing in mixed martial arts is a completely different thing. So, were you? I mean, how long in between when you started training to your first fight? How long of a time was that?
Well, I didn't have my first amateur fight until I was 18. So I had already trained eight, or not eight, sorry, like 3 to 4 years. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
wow. And I mean, was there a particular facet of MMA that kind of you took to from your kind of your high school soccer experience? Were you more drawn to the ground? Were you more uh, drawn to like the stand-up side of
Um,
things?
yeah, I was definitely more drawn to boxing. I actually didn't get into the whole gist of MMA right away. I started off with boxing for about like a year, and then I just slowly kind of started getting into kickboxing. And then I would say I didn't get into jiu-jitsu until like 2 years, or about almost 2 years. So, yeah, that was that. And then when I had my first few amateur fights, I still wasn't as good on the ground, and had to learn the hard way. I had a couple losses when it went to the ground. So yeah, I started off with boxing.
That's funny because literally your introduction to the sport and evolution through the sport was literally like the here in North America kind of like uh, the casual fans kind of appreciation of such, right? Like first they're like, oh, we love boxing with Ali and so many boxing greats, Julio Cesar Chavez and
Yeah,
Senior, right? And then
yeah,
you're like, oh wait, you can kick stuff too, and people started getting into like Henry Hooves and the Rufus brothers, and I mean, there's a litany of kind of kickboxers and Muay Thai athletes, and then it was like, oh wait, we can put this whole thing together
right,
and grappling
yeah,
too, and Hoist Gracie. So like your introduction to the sport was almost like most people. I know for me, that's like I like the boxing, then I like the kicking stuff, then I like the grappling stuff, and then I like it all together.
Yeah, it's crazy how it all just comes together. It's not just one thing that you can focus on. I mean, you have hands, you have kicks, you have submissions, takedowns, all that stuff. So it's definitely a tough sport, but I like a challenge. So I like it. I love it.
Absolutely. So, I want to ask, right? Where is your home gym?
My home gym is in Placerville, California. Not sure if you've heard of it. It's a small town, but it's in California.
Okay, yeah, and the gym name is.
It's called AB's Dragon House. Yeah, that's what it's called. And then I mean I training at two gyms. I have my jiu-jitsu gym as well, so it's called Felipe Bragial BJJ, and that's just a few minutes away from here. That one's in Rancho Cordova, so not too far from here.
Right on. Now, in particular, that Dragon House stands out because not only is that the name of your home gym where you kind of put it all together, but it is the promotion in which you had your first amateur fight.
Yeah, we actually have like an affiliate. We're affiliated to Dragon House in San Francisco. I'm not sure if you've heard of it, but it's like
Yes, of course I have.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, we're affiliated with them. So my Sifu Zonglo, he's the one that runs the promotions, and I was able to get my first fight on there, which is pretty cool.
No, 100%.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, punching, kicking, grappling, from soccer, where again, a lot of that stuff you would be red carded, for doing on the fields, right?
Yeah.
But you're actually kind of like appreciated more if you do such things, right? So, what was that first fight like, back at the Dragon House, amateur promotion?
There was definitely a lot of adrenaline going on. You know how that is. I mean, if you fought before, you guys know. A lot of adrenaline. It was just fun overall. I ended up losing by decision. And then that's when I came into play. Like, oh, okay, I really need to step up my jiu-jitsu. I really need to get into it. But overall, I had a great time. I mean, like I said, when you like to do something, it's just for you. You enjoy the training part. You enjoy fighting. You just know it's for you.
No, absolutely. And it's a different type of adrenaline, compared to, soccer where again, I mean, I mean, usually you play the full 90 minutes, theoretically speaking, but then, there are times where, injury happens or you just are gassed where you kind of like, the coach takes you off the field and what have you, you get subbed out. But here you have essentially, I mean, I mean, it was sanctioned by CAMO, right? The California Amateur Mixed Martial Arts Organization, right?
Yes. Yeah, it was by Camo.
Yeah. So, which, funny enough, I might have one of these right here.
Oh, nice.
Yes. That for those who don't know, that is the California state title, the kind of the crown jewel of the amateur MMA scene here in California. And this one is actually historic because this is actually the very first women's MMA bantamweight title here in California, won by Brooke Mayo at Chris Cyborg's card.
Oh, that's
out
awesome.
here. Yeah. So when she was like, "Hey, I might need a new home for it," and I was like, please.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, so it's great. So obviously, in MMA, it's a different kind of deal because I mean that was what 3 2-minute rounds. That was kind of
3
what it
2-minute
was.
rounds, those short rounds.
But it's super like it can be anxiety inducing. Like many of complete fighter, many a great athlete have almost like fallen suit. Like like oh this guy's conditioning, this girl is like whatever, and then like once that bell rings and that cage door shuts, it's completely different.
No, it is. Yeah, I feel like before the fight, you really have to know how to save that energy for the fight and kind of just breathe through it all. Because if you're out there just letting all your energy go, then that's gonna pay a toll during the fight.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. So you were saying, after that first fight, it didn't go your way. I mean, but it was close because it was a decision. It wasn't like you got finished or what have you. So, and you had been training in, combat sports for 4 years prior to that. So, did you kind of have an idea of like, okay, I want to get another one in. I want to get a win back, and I know what I need to improve on going forward if I want to. I mean, if I'm serious about this.
Yeah, I definitely don't like to lose. So, just learn from my mistakes and go up from there. So I was definitely anxious to get back in there as soon as I could, and I think I did. I can't remember how long of a period my next one was, but I ended up getting back in there and just kept growing.
Now, I mean, if your brother-in-law hadn't, essentially introduced you to combat sports, do you ever imagine what your life would be otherwise?
Now that you ask me, yes and no. I feel like I would have continued with college because I was going to college after high school. But then I dropped out just because I wanted to focus on my training. Um, so I really don't know what to tell you. I was going to school to become a personal trainer, so could have been doing that maybe. Well, I am doing that, but I'm also fighting.
Yeah, no, 100%. Which over on YouTube, Yosh. Oh my gosh, I always butcher his name, but I hope you. I'm glad you're watching here, but I can't wait to see you back in combat. He says.
Thank you. I can't wait to get back in there.
Absolutely. So, I mean, it's a fun one, right? Because, well, not so much fun, right? It's an unfortunate kind of happenstance with COVID happening, and a lot of not just amateur MMA promotions, but also regional pro shows have essentially been shut down here in California. But and a lot of amateur fighters are having out of necessity to go pro prematurely just because there aren't any amateur fights at all, right? But you
Yeah,
went pro right before, like all of this. I
all
mean,
this
not right
stuff.
before.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So but you're still in the kind of the same plight, right? Where there's not a lot of, I mean, for those who don't know, the California, combat sports scene was a burgeoning scene. Like I was working like almost between pro shows, amateur shows, and pro wrestling stuff. Like I was working almost every weekend, definitely at the very least 2 weekends a month, right? And then
yeah.
it just all shut down. So
Yeah.
how has that been for you?
I mean, I feel like COVID played a tough role in everyone's life because we all have something going on. Um, so it was definitely rough at first. Gyms were closed, couldn't even go in and train. Um, but now that things are starting to open back up, I feel like promotions are coming back slowly but surely. But yeah, you're right about the whole, especially if you're an amateur. It's was definitely hard to find a fight. So I know of someone. I follow someone who she went pro right away. She never got an amateur fight because of COVID. You know.
Yeah, and Stu's like, yeah, dude, this shit sucks. It,
Yeah, it
yeah,
does. Yeah.
and this is this like just like kind of on the surface level of it's sucking, but I mean, especially if you have somebody that were you know affected negatively by COVID, whether it be them themselves, like my wife ended up getting it right before Thanksgiving, so shit can suck on many many levels, but
Many
it's
levels.
just
Yeah.
but also kind of selfishly, it's just like everything that I had planned is kind of this like.
Off. Off. Yeah. Everyone's plans just flew out the window.
So I mean, in terms of like what you, I mean, looking at like January, February, last year of 2020, like down the pipeline, like were you kind of like jonesing for a fight even then? Like what was the year? Like what did you want to do?
Yeah.
You wanted to get a couple fights in?
Last year I had one fight in February, and it was the beginning of the year, February. So I was like, oh, 2020, it's gonna be my year. I think everyone was kind of saying the same thing, but it just didn't turn out that way. I was like, I was planning on fighting at least like 3-4 times last year, and just couldn't go that way. So it is what it is. I mean, everything happens for a reason. We're here now, and I'm currently actually recovering from a knee injury. So once that heals up, hopefully I get something booked.
Yeah, no, 100%, 100%, and it's like I said, it's cool because like I mean, technically Placerville. I mean, do you guys consider yourself like Central Cal, Cal? Like, where
Northern
would you?
California.
Okay, Northern Cal.
Yeah.
Okay, but you fought on some pretty big cards for Combate. Back to back, you fought on their Fresno card and their Stockton card, and the Stockton is probably a little bit closer in terms of logistics to you. But I mean, how was that experience like?
Yeah, it was definitely cool walking into a big arena like that. That was, one of my first shows that I fought on that big. So it was awesome.
Yeah, no, 100%, 100%. But did you learn anything from that? Because obviously, going from amateur to pro can be, again, we were talking about anxiety inducing in terms of like, you as a fighter and all the things that can get to you. But like, those are big, bright lights. But in a lot of the amateur promotions here in California, the production level is almost equal to that of pros, right? So was there did you feel like there was a step up or kind of like the same deal that you were pretty well prepared?
Yeah, I mean, it felt the same for me, other than like I felt like everything was a little bit more organized within the promotion itself, and obviously it's a bigger crowd. But other than that, it felt just the same. Yeah.
Yeah, and another interesting caveat too is actually getting paid, right? Like that's a
And
big
getting
one
paid, yes.
too. Yeah.
Getting paid for what you like to do. Yeah, that was another thing that I missed out on, but yeah.
Yeah, and again, for those who don't know, here in California, when you fight as an amateur, it's exactly that. Almost similar to like the NCAA, collegiate sports and what have you. You're an athlete, but you can't get paid. And once you start getting paid, you almost become a professional of some sort, So yeah, that's it. And Stu says comedians never get paid. Hey, Joe Rogan. I mean, I think he's done okay. I think.
Joe Rogan's so funny. And Matt Serra.
Matt Serra
Matt
too.
Serra?
Yes,
Yeah.
100%.
It's
Dude,
hilarious.
yeah, it's but and here's another thing, right? Because I'm a big advocate of, you know, you only have so many years, right? Where, especially as a combat sports athlete, it's not like football, it's not like baseball or anything else. Well, maybe not football, but like because football can be physically taxing. But I mean, you only have maybe a 5 to 7 year window if you're lucky, and if you go beyond that, you're hitting pay dirt, right? So I'm a big advocate of people who are involved in the sport and basically use that notoriety to kind of open up opportunities for themselves beyond just fighting. And that's one thing that you've obviously done via your YouTube page, which I think is awesome. How did that come about?
Oh yeah. Actually, I started YouTube. I can't remember how long ago, but I've been doing it for a while now, and just recently I've been trying to make it upload more videos and grow my channel. But yeah, that's kind of just like my side hobby, I guess you could say. I enjoy doing that. I like taking videos, vlogging, posting videos, But yeah, I also have some of my like fight vlogs on there, and people like to see. So I just like to mix it up, have some fun here and there.
No, 100%. And Stu kind of giving a caveat himself, saying he got paid for podcast commentating his Netflix special. When was the last time you saw him in a cage? Hey, you know what? Conor McGregor doesn't have to step into a cage to. Oh, hi from the Netherlands. Hey,
Oh,
over on
hi.
Twitch. We're going worldwide. That's awesome. But
That's
yeah,
awesome.
and it's cool because I think it's absolutely cool that at a time where, and you had been doing this way before 2020, but it's almost a way to feel that creative side of yourself, because if you can't do it through mixed martial arts for a long time last year, it's another way to kind of cultivate that artistic bit of your personality in it.
Yeah, in a way, yeah, you definitely have to come up with creative ways or different ideas for videos, and all that editing stuff takes a long time. So, I mean, it's fun. Yeah. I also did now that
So
you're talking about creative, I used to draw and stuff, but I felt like it was so time consuming, and I kind of just stopped doing that. But editing takes a long time too. It takes a bunch of your time, so I'd rather do that than draw.
why do you think I go live? So don't have to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've even had people clip up the show, and I think it's fun. I'm like, cool, do that, tag me, because like I'm not doing that. So you know,
Yeah, this is cool.
now yeah, I mean, it's. I think it's fun, but I mean, if not for this, and I much like a lot of the fighters that I've interviewed and podcasted with, was trying to figure out a way. If I mean, honest to goodness, I didn't do a damn thing like the first half of the pandemic. Right, this podcast in this form didn't exist until like July of last year, but we didn't know like if the world was going to end or not. So it was just like okay. And then once we were like, okay, it's still not great, but we could be inside and whatever. And I was like,
Doing
okay, what can I
something,
do? What
yeah.
can I do? Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, we're like over 300 episodes in since
Oh,
July.
that's good, yeah. Since July.
Yeah, July.
Nice.
Yeah. And you'll survive. I had Corona, did okay. I'm glad that you're okay, good sir. So shout out to you and your immune system. That kicks ass. So you kick ass, good sir. So thank you from the Netherlands. Tremendous, tremendous. And amateur derived from amour. Love professional. Pay me. We are the true pros. So yeah, and that's he's doing a kind of the name association or like a generation because yeah, amateur means like the love, right? You do it because you love it, not because
You
you're
do
getting
it, yeah, you
paid.
do it not for the money, but because you like it. Yeah.
No, 100%. Now I gotta get into the vlogging aspect because that like you said in terms of editing and all of that jazz, it can be time consuming. So where was the genesis of that? When did you start vlogging?
Um, so there's a difference between making videos at home and then going out and actually vlogging in public. Um, I can't tell you when my first vlog was, but I've been doing it for more than a year and a half or two. Definitely more than 2 years. Um, yeah,
Now,
it's fun.
which I mean, and there's certain strengths that you derive from that. So I mean, what have you learned about whether it be the process or yourself going through the process, vlogging? In that almost 2 years time.
What was that?
What have you learned about yourself through that the process of vlogging and editing and all that?
Oh, I've definitely learned a lot of like new stuff, like especially like with my editing skills. I feel like I always learn something new. Whenever, because I do watch a lot of YouTube, like YouTubers and stuff. So I kind of like see the way that they edit their vlogs and videos, and I kind of want to make not mine the same or more so similar, you know. 'Cause it's the trend. It's the trend. I want to be,
Yeah,
you know, trending.
yeah. I mean, inspired by is a good one.
Yeah, inspired by is a good word.
Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, who are some of the YouTubers that you are inspired by?
I don't know if you know about Face Rug. Face Rug. He's about my age. He's got like almost I think almost or at least 20 mil subscribers. So I've been it's pretty cool because I've been watching him grow. So it's just awesome to see that, and it motivates me. So
That's
Face
tremendous.
Rug is one of them, and then I also watch his brother Baradas. I don't know if you know, but I watch them, and then I try to support other local YouTubers.
That's good. You got to support local, and especially at a time when you were fighting, right? Like when you would have cards closer to home, it was advantageous for the promoter to kind of book you because it's just like you're depending on your friends, your family, and other people, not
Yeah,
just
yeah.
to, get the tickets sold, but also sponsorships to get medicals covered. It's a whole thing.
Yeah, it definitely is a whole thing. I mean it's really important to support local, whether it be could be business. You know, you always gotta have to support the local business and local people, whether they be I don't know doing whatever they're doing. Yeah.
No, 100%, 100%. That's kind of it. I mean, it's weird because I like to think I'm local, but what is local? Because everybody's kind of doing like this thing, like the big TV stations and everything like that. Like, I think I get like more news from like local news in San Diego, and that's like literally 2 hours away from me. I know what
That's
is
local.
going on.
That's
Yeah,
local to
that's
me.
local.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, in terms of who we were talking about inspirations and what have you. So as a fighter, do you have any like particular fighters that you watch for either inspiration, technique, or because it's funny because when you get into it, you might not see everything as a fan, right? Little nuances and what makes somebody great, techniques and what have you. But once you do it yourself, you're like, oh, I get it now. So, is there anybody that you're influenced by in terms of
Um.
MMA?
Yeah. I would say like my very first inspiration would have to have been Connor McGregor. After looking into his background story, he came from nothing and he's up at the top. Definitely one of them. And then Muhammad Ali, like the greatest boxer. Ryan Garcia. Um, and then also not just high level athletes, but people who I train with. Like they inspire me, they motivate me all the time. So yeah, I could name a whole list.
I love it. I love it. Now, in terms of because we're in a time where there's not a lot going on here in California in terms of like full on MMA, but have you ever thought about entertaining like a fight to win? Or actually, this weekend they're having Submission on the Shore in Galveston, Texas, which is an all female, you know, submission only tournament for like literally cash money. So, has that kind of entered the fray in terms of like maybe I want to do that just to kind of get the competing in?
Yeah. I like I said, once my knee gets uh recovered, I definitely want to jump back in there. I did have a tournament to start off the year earlier this year for jiu-jitsu, but it wasn't for fight to win. It was a local promotion. But yeah, I definitely want to get back in there, whether it be like a fight or a grappling tournament. I just want to be active. So whatever kind of pops up first, we're probably gonna go with that.
I like it. I like it. Now, obviously, in addition to all of this time during COVID and all of that, you kind of have time to think, right? Time to kind of assess things. But then also, you've got a predicament going on with your knee, right? So, do you think this time that you're kind of convalescing and that does it make you hungrier to get back into the cage again and make up for lost time?
Most definitely. It's kind of a rough time. I mean, now I'm able to jump into training and not fully, but I can do more than what I couldn't do. I guess you could say, because it was definitely rough at first, especially after because my last tournament that I had, uh, when was it last month and a half ago, I actually lost. So definitely feel like I have that fire in me to just come back and come back stronger after a loss and an injury. Um, yeah, I'm ready to get back in there as soon as possible.
That is tremendous. Now, obviously, there have been a lot of people. I mean, I think everybody was just like they're trying to find like I guess you would say the canary in the coal mine. Just kind of like a lifesaver. In many aspects, whether it be their health, their finances, their occupation, relationships, all this stuff, right? And it can get hard to stay motivated, right? So in this time where you kind of have to be seated on the bench, right? Like, what keeps you motivated to want to come back, to want to compete again?
Um, I don't know. I mean, just seeing other people getting in there and having fights and training, putting in the hard work. I think that's what's motivating to me. Um, I just have that fire in me. Like I just want to get back in there and seeing other people do what I can't do is kind of like it's frustrating, but it's also motivating.
No, 100%. I feel that too. I get a bit of like imposter syndrome because like I talk to people. Who doesn't talk to people, right? This can't be a skill. Like, what the heck, But then it's a double-edged sword because like I'm around like not physically, but the social media feeds, right? You kind of scroll
Yeah.
up on any given, you know, your what is it, social media, network, and you see like people doing awesome things, right?
Yeah.
So like I almost feel like I, I almost want to catch on a rising star because if you're doing awesome things, how at this time where everything is almost absolutely scary for everyone, like, and you're still doing awesome, like, let me find out. You want to do the podcast, like, because I'm trying to figure it out as much as you are, but
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's awesome. Yeah, you just have to go through it is whatever you're not able to do the fullest. I'm referring to COVID or COVID, whether it be like a knee injury, whatever it is, whatever is holding you back, you just have to do what you can and be
absolutely.
patient.
Now, I gotta ask, right? Because the introduction to this side of combat sports came through your brother-in-law, right? So, what is your brother-in-law kind of make of all of this in your introduction into the sport?
um, well, like can you rephrase the question?
Yeah. So, like,
How did we
what
come
does he
into
think
play?
about like how you're doing, and is he proud of
Thoughts.
that?
Yeah, he's definitely always pushing me during my trainings and always trying to keep me on the right track, whether it be inside or outside of the gym. He's kind of like a father figure to me, I guess you could say. Yeah, because my dad passed. It's gonna be 3 years this month, so he's always been there ever since. I mean, he's been there before. because he's watched me grow since I was little. So he's been there, and yeah, like I said, he's always trying to keep me on the right track, and I guess I could say he's proud for how far I've come so far. He definitely wants the best for me, so I'm very greatly appreciated of that.
I love it. That's amazing. And our condolences to you and your family with the loss of your dad. That's as somebody that's been there myself. Like I don't think I made it to 30. My parents both passed away before I even turned 30. So it's just like that's a weird time in itself. And then like not to have any guidance. It can be weird.
Yeah, my condolences to you as well. It's something rough time to go through. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, in terms of your family, beyond your brother-in-law, how receptive has your family been to you fighting?
So when I first started out within my amateur career, my first few fights actually didn't mention anything to my mother, and because she knew I would train and stuff, but I think she never thought that I would take it seriously, even though I would mention it to her. Um, and I mean, once I kind of broke it to her, she all hell, like she did not like it. She didn't want her baby being punched or getting hurt, anything like that. So it took her actually a good while for her to actually understand and be more supportive. Now she's definitely supportive. She still doesn't like to see her baby get hit, but you know, I told her this is what I want to do. I'm sorry, but this is my dream, and this is what I want to go for.
Yeah, and I mean, I would think that she would, you know, rest assured that what you're doing, you do have not so much a safety net, but I mean, like you have your brother-in-law watching over you, you've got your coaches, and you are working towards something like physically, mentally, spiritually, and what have you towards a goal. And even if you don't like the thing, you gotta have to admire that in your kid that like, hey, you found something that you actually like doing.
Yeah, and like you were saying, I am surrounded by my coaches, my family. So you definitely have to be surrounded by people who support you. Um, if not, I don't I don't know what to tell you. Just keep following your dream. Don't don't listen to any what other people have to say.
No, absolutely, absolutely. Now, in terms, and again, you came from a soccer background, right, an athletic background, but there had to be some like times where even though you did have some natural advantages in terms of like cardio and endurance and everything like that, but like was there a particular like move, right, whether it be grappling, whether it be striking, a particular combo that made you kind of rethink like, oh, am I doing this right? And like when you finally got it right, like what was that feeling like?
Um, I feel like in one of my amateur fights, and this is amateur, so amateur rounds are less than pro rounds. One of my amateur fights, we went through all 3 rounds. It was 3 minutes, so almost 10 minutes. And because looking back, watching the videos, I know I looked tired towards the end. So I feel like that was kind of a switch to really amp it up because I can't be doing that in my pro rounds. Um, so I guess you could say that was one of them. And just looking back on one of my amateur fights and seeing that how tired I was, I just had to switch it up a little bit more, amp it up in my training.
No, 100%. Which again, it's something that served you because the last fight that you had at Combate in Fresno, Combate 56, I mean, you were essentially finished Lucero Costa in I mean, by a rear naked choke, right? So that had to be kind of an accumulation of all the hard work to put together. Friends with Lucero, shout out to Lucero Acosta. With that, to be able to kind of put it all together and win on arguably the biggest stage of your career up until that point, that had to feel pretty good. It wasn't a decision; it was a finish.
Yeah, oh yeah, that it felt amazing. I mean, that was my first pro win, and coming from a loss after my first pro loss, felt amazing, and I had amped it up even more after my pro loss. So it felt really good to know that hard work does pay off.
No, absolutely, absolutely. So, speaking of hard work, obviously, to get to the top echelon of anything, or especially in any sport, and even more especially in combat sports, if you were to book a dream match between yourself and another fighter, what would that dream match look like? Who would be standing across from you in the cage, and also where would you like that to happen?
Oh goodness. Um what's that quote? You know how make your follow your rival, or I couldn't tell you. I don't know it.
Is it? Oh, is it the like work so hard that your heroes become your
That
peers?
your idols become your rivalries.
Yeah, there you go.
And I don't know. I mean, obviously I want to fight the best, right? So I would have to say Amanda Nunez. That would be wow. I would have to get on her level though. Let me get to her level first. No, but she's a really great inspiration. She is amazing. Like, wow, that girl, she's a monster.
Yeah, and it's funny. I'm leaving that ideology of you shoot for the moon, because even if you fall short, you land amongst the stars,
You
right?
don't lose
So
anything. Yeah.
right, and you will probably even get more headway, making that big dream than you did if you did like a smaller attainable one. Which that is something that Amanda Nunes followed herself. She almost, I mean, every fight for like 2 years before she even got to the UFC she was training for Ronda Rousey. So if
Mm-hmm.
she had an amateur fight, she had I mean, she was pro already, but she had a regional card. Of course, she was prepared for that opponent, but she was skewing a lot of her training to thwart Ronda Rousey. So, and she did.
Yeah, look at her. She went through Chris Cyborg, Holly Holm, all the greatest female
Misha
fighters.
Tate.
Misha Tate.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
awesome.
No, 100%. And Nate Rand of Podium Sports says shooting for the moon is the only way to go.
Oh,
Not literally, because like if you literally shoot
not
guns at the
literally.
moon, yeah, it's a safety concern for sure. Those things fall on somebody's heads, those bullets and such. So, like literally, but not literally, but figuratively, shoot for the moon.
Figuratively, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So speaking of like all things the moon and all things kind of insightful and motivating, what are some things that motivate you beyond fighting? Is it music that you're listening to? Are there books that you're reading? Movies that you're watching just to kind of get you into the space where you need to accomplish whatever you need to do?
Yeah, I do like to read a lot of books that are motivating. Currently, I'm reading the Forrest Griffin book. I don't know if you,
Really?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I just started reading it, so it's great so far. So I like reading motivational books. Definitely my family always pushing me, making me be right on track with everything. They're motivating. Um, People who follow me always motivate me, always put a smile on my face. So it's awesome. Yeah. My coaches, can't forget my coaches, teammates.
I love it. I love it. Now, I think it's important. Some people think it's important, some people don't, but I absolutely do. That of a walkout music, right? Because I think it's almost like a game plan, right? It's almost a psychological advantage that you basically bestow on your opponent, or it's something that will put you in a headspace that you will basically, regardless of what comes your way in the fight, you're in that headspace where it's almost unforshakable. So, is it based on maybe a walkout song before, or one that you hope to walk out song? I mean, hope to walk out to. Do you have a favorite like walkout music or theme?
Yeah, I normally like to walk out to songs that remind me of my dad. So last fights I've fought before, I walked out to this. It's an old song. It's that "Woman in a Black Dress" by the Hollies.
Oh wow,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. So I walk out to that. It's just motivating to me. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I thought about like walking out to like something that like something else that pumps me up, like rap, or whether it be like hip hop or like a rap song. But I like walking out to music that my dad used to listen to.
That's and it's amazing because that means, I mean, you are essentially his legacy, right? And you and your siblings are his legacy. So with that all being said, it's a nice way of knowing that he's still there.
He is, yeah, he is.
Which I mean, what would you think of? I guess what he thought of like what you were doing. Do you think he'd be proud of you reaching for your dreams, regardless of whatever may come your way?
Yeah, I definitely think he would be very proud. I know he could have had he because he played soccer when he was younger, um, and I feel like he could have had a great career, but just family issues and stuff like that got in his way, so he couldn't go about his career. But I feel like he would have been something really great. So for me to kind of go through the steps that he was supposed to go in, it kind of pushes me even more. Um, so that's definitely motivating to me.
I love it. I love it. Now, in terms of the injury, like, did they give you a timetable in terms of like when you would be back, essentially?
From Combate?
No, just your knee
Oh, my
injury.
knee
Like how?
injury.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the doctor said like 6 to 8 weeks. Currently on week 3 right now.
Oh, okay.
Going through it. Yeah. But it's healing. Like I said, I've been able to do more workouts. I'm able to hit the mitts now. No kicks. Can't roll yet. But I just did a jiu-jitsu technique class yesterday. So little by little, I'm just getting back in there.
No, absolutely. Incremental steps. Those are key. Those are key. So, um, and just putting all positivity on a safe and wonderful recovery for you.
Thank
In terms of this time next year, right? Where would you have liked your fight career to go? I mean, how many fights? Where? Like, do you have a kind of a goal?
Within a year time a year frame, I would say hopefully I'll be able to get in maybe at least 3 fights.
Ooh,
At
I like
least
it.
2 to 3 fights. We'll see. That would add on a few more fights onto my pro career. I'm 1-1 right now, so definitely
Yeah.
want to get back in there.
No, absolutely, absolutely. Now, obviously, Marissa, there have been a wealth of people, both professionally and personally, that have helped you not just in fight but in life. So, take all the time you need. Let's get some shout outs out of the way.
Yeah, sure. So first and foremost, thanks to my coaches. If you guys don't know, Abraham Calderon and Felipe Braggio, they've been helping me out since day one within my training career. So shout out to them. Shout out to my family, my mom, my sisters, um, And shout out to my sponsors. I have 2 clothing brands, so Calisthenics and LF78 Apparel. They've been sponsoring me for the past year and a half. So they're awesome. Go check them out. Also, shout out to Herbalife. Herbalife Nutrition. They've also sponsored me. They have a lot of great products. You guys want to go check them out as well. And then I cannot let one person go missing. Let me think. I know I have one more. I just can't think right now. I'm on the spot. Let's see. So I have.
Let's see.
Oh yes. Shout out to Emperor One CBD. You guys can go check them out as well. They have a lot of CBD products. But yeah, shout out to all you guys and all my fans, friends.
Yeah, fans can become your friends and family, and it's cool. It's a whole community, right?
Yeah, for sure. It's a small but big community.
Oh yeah, 100%, 100%. Which before we go, I want to get into the heart of the matter because obviously there are things that you want to do, right? That is absolutely involving you that you want for yourself, right? But for I grew up in Inglewood, right? And it's funny because Inglewood now is like this nice place for everybody to live, but it wasn't when I grew up. So I figured I wanted to do something so cool that I would make my community proud, right? So in terms of what you want your town in your community to think of your lasting impact on the sport, um, what would you like to give back to your community?
I definitely would like to give back in any way that they, whether it be, I don't know, donations or just getting everyone to come together and know that to show them, you know, the way if you want to make a dream come true, you just have to keep going with it. I want to be able to show them that.
That's tremendous. And I wouldn't X out like personal speaking or anything like that because again, there are things that you've been through and gone through in your life that there's somebody, especially like young kids, right? Like, going to schools and talking about it because there's somebody in that auditorium, even though like people are, I mean, obviously pre-COVID, throwing spitballs at each other and what have you, there's somebody that needs Maritza Sanchez to say what she does to speak to them and kind of usher them into whatever phase of their life that they feel they run to be in.
Yeah, I think it's almost really important what you say and what you do throughout your daily life because you never know what someone might need to hear or see an action that you did throughout your day.
Absolutely, absolutely. Marissa, thank you so much for joining us here at Accorded Woods. For those who haven't
Pleasure.
already done so, where can they find you on social media?
Yeah, you guys can, if you have Instagram, go ahead and you guys can give me or just check out my page, Maritza Sanchez. It's going to be a triple underscore at the end. And then you guys can also check out my YouTube channel. Also, just look up Maritza Sanchez. Go ahead, check out my videos, subscribe if you like. And yeah.
Oh, you also have a Twitter too.
Oh yeah, I do have a Twitter. Sorry, I'm not on there as much, but I will go on there sometimes every now and then. So you guys can check it out, Maritza underscore Cass with a K.
Damn right. I followed her, and you guys should too. Nate Wren, so kind, said this has been one really entertaining interview. Thank you, good sir. And thank you guys for joining us here at According to Woods. And if you haven't already done so, go ahead and like, share, and subscribe to the According to Woods podcast on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. And, Marissa, you're subscribed, right?
No, but I'm going to. So you guys better subscribe. Or else.
Dang right.
No, just kidding.
Or else what?
No, but you heard him. Go like, subscribe, and comment and share.
Yeah, dang right. And subscribe while you're at it. Definitely go ahead and check out Marissa's vlog channel because it is one of my favorites. Again, there's somebody who's using her notoriety from MMA and letting it spill over to other sides of her creative endeavors. So it's a fun one. You should definitely go ahead and check that out. But if you don't believe me or Marissa, and I don't know why you wouldn't, here's Pro Wrestler Zeta Zhang to convince you.
Hey, this is Zeta.
Ah!
Hey, this is Zeta Zhang. Make